In today's episode, once again, we're speaking to Kimba Cooper-Martin. Kimba is a successful, innovative, and creative entrepreneur based in Bristol. Kimba has been using gamification in her personal and business life to improve results and meet her goals as long as she can remember. Gamification has enabled Kimba to improve all aspects of her business, leading to more sales and greater results for everyone involved. Whether it's engagement on social media posts, an increase in number of people completing her courses, or showing up for live online events. Better participant retention in her challenges and memberships, or getting higher quality testimonials. And in today's episode, Kimba shares her secrets of how you can use gamification in your business to improve your results. Let's find out. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And once again, we have the amazing, we have the beautiful, we have the wonderful and charming Kimba Cooper-Martin. Welcome, Kimba.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Kimba, everyone's heard how amazing you are, but please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
Well, I explained a brief summary in the last episode, but I'll try and do it again. So I am a gamification specialist. Essentially, I help people who run online courses, online memberships and launches to improve and get better results using tools and elements that are taken from the game world.
Awesome. Fantastic. And that's the actually point of our topic today. We are talking about growing with gamification. Now, what do you mean by grow with gamification? Which area of your life are you referring to when you say grow?
So you can use gamification for pretty much anything. I use it personally. I've used it to exercise more, to read more, to get better results in my business. My personal focus is helping businesses to get better results from their courses, from their online launches, from their memberships, from social media, because that's where I have previous experience. So it made sense to go into those areas. But what I would say is, if you're interested after this and you're like, I don't have any of those things, but you want to gamify some other area of your life, is to ask yourself the question, is it inherently motivating? So for example, if somebody was to say to me, if you eat chocolate every day for the next 31 days, I'll give you a prize. I'm going to do it, okay? And I'm going to be happy doing it. I'm going to eat chocolate every day for those 31 days and I'm going to get that prize. Now, at the end of that 31 days, if they say, well, someone somewhere wrote a book that said, if you do a habit for 31 days, it sticks. So you don't need a prize anymore. We're going to leave you to just keep eating chocolate every day. And I'm like, oh God, I don't get a prize. I don't know if I'm going to bother eating it every day, every night. It's hard work eating the same thing every day. I don't know if I'm going to bother. Whereas if there was no prize to begin with, because I like eating chocolate anyway, I would happily have carried on eating chocolate regardless. So try not to use gamification to gamify things that you find fun, that you find engaging, that you find inherently motivating anyway. Take things that are boring, that are challenging, that are hard work, that you don't want to do, that you are putting off. Gamify those things, because you will get much better results and you're not going to see that reduction in motivation because you didn't have any to start with.
So let's use an example, Kimba. So for example, we'll talk about putting in business afterwards, but let's start with one thing I know you've done yourself, which you've mentioned before on Friday and today as well. You use gamification to read more or to exercise more. Two habits that I think every single person should have. So let's talk us through, how can you gamify that? How did you use gamification to actually exercise more or to read more? Talk us through that example.
Well, I gave you an exercise example in the last one, so let's go into the reading example.
Okay.
So when I decided to pivot into gamification, I was like, I need to read everything I can about gamification to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Because although I do it naturally, there's bound to be things that other people have done before that I would have probably made the same mistake if I didn't read the book. But I'll be honest with you, gamification books are really boring. Like, really boring. Okay, so you tend to have two types of gamification professionals, generally speaking. One is the academics, like serious academics. They are teaching gamification in university, so their books are dry and they are written academically. Okay, and then the other side is gamers. So you've got ex-gamers or current gamers, and they've got their own jargon and they're hard to get through. So I was like, right, I need to figure out a way to make myself do this reading. So I would put little things in place. So First obvious thing is to put the time in the diary every day. But it's easy to forget a diary reminder. It's easy to overlook. So I created myself a little chart. So for each book, so let's say, I don't know, just pick a book at random. So I've got this book behind me. This is just Ikigai. So I would go and I would look at how many pages there are. So this book has got, without the notes, 185 pages. So then I would say, right, I want to read that book in 2 weeks. So I would do a calculation. I'm not going to do it now because I'm not.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah.
How many pages do I need to do each day to get through that? And then I'd create myself a chart with a picture of the book on it, and each day, and I'd have the date, and I would go through my calendar. I'd be like, I can't read on these days. I would be quite sensible about it. And so it's very simple. You're giving yourself a streak, which is a gamification tool, which you see in games all the time. And if any of you use something like Duolingo, or if you use any apps to help you reduce smoking or reduce drinking or anything like that, you'll see this. You've been doing this for this many days. So then I would be able to tick off each day when I'd done it. And just that little action of ticking something off a to-do list is like the nicest feeling in the world. And now I don't need to give myself a reward at the end, because I'm the kind of person, like my natural personality type is an achiever. So I want to get to the end, and once I've achieved it, I'm like, yes, I've ticked off a book. But I am also on Goodreads. So when I finish the book, I go on to Goodreads, and like another like little dose of, I don't know if serotonin is the right thing, but
it would be serotonin is released.
It's going on there and going, you know, I've finished this book. So I'd go into Goodreads and I'd say I've finished this book. And it's so simple. And I created it in Canva, and it took me like 5 minutes, and I just change it every time I read a book. It's very, very simple. But it meant that I got through so many books in a short amount of time, and it meant that I fit it in every day, and it meant that I wasn't going, oh gosh, I should read that blooming book, or looking at that stack of books that I should be getting to. Now that worked for me because I'm the kind of person that likes a streak. I'm the kind of person who likes ticking things off, but not everybody does. So what's really important is to think, when I have achieved something in the past, what did I do? What motivated me? What made me stick to it? Now, it could be, you know, we discussed briefly in the last program about deadlines. So it could be that you have a book from the library, and so you have a deadline to get it back. So you do that, you give yourself a deadline to read it by, and then you know, if you want to, you could create yourself a sticker chart. So instead of ticking, you could add stickers or whatever. Now that is a very manual way of doing it. You could, of course, create a spreadsheet. You could create an app that does it for you. You could do all this stuff. What I like to do with gamification is give people the options of doing things really low tech if they want to, so they can just get it done, rather than being like, oh, I can't possibly do that yet because I've not created my app yet. So you've given yourself another tool for procrastination, which is not what you want.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it actually oxytocin that was released. So if you, as you do these tasks, and you have this sense of achievement, oxytocin is released, and you feel the sense of self-love, self-achievement, it's all about, feeling the energy of love and achievement and self-appreciation. And as that grows, any behavior that's focused on and reinforced and felt in the depths of your soul, you want to repeat, because you want to repeat that feeling again. So when oxytocin is released, you feel so happy, and you feel so elated, and you feel so happy and elated. You want to repeat that process again when you read the next book. And so this is what I'm understanding from you, that you do a process which makes you happy at the end of the day, which gives you a sense of achievement. And that sense of achievement or that sense of happiness may come from different ways. With you, it's that charts or whatever else. Somebody else could be, okay, so when I read my book or whatever they're doing, I'm going to go and buy myself, I'm going to watch a movie. For example, I'm a big movie fan. It doesn't matter which movie is it, Hollywood, Bollywood, Lollywood. I don't care where you're from. I love movies. So once I've done this, read this book, and I've given myself some brain food, I'm going to go and watch that movie, either Netflix, Prime, or maybe even go cinema. Who knows? Okay, let's go cinema. And it would, excuse me, as you figure out ways to give you that sense of achievement, that like, oh, little prize. For someone like you don't need the prize, because the sense of doing it is enough. But a lot of people need that. There's a reward at the end, and the reward is very subjective. It's whatever makes them happy. And like for example, when you have all these different diet groups, you always have a cheat day. You have a day when you have time off, again, to reward yourself, plus also to have a break from the what you've been doing. Doesn't matter where. The idea is for you to have the sense of achievement, and then you celebrate it with whatever you want to do. Watch a movie or whatever else. And then you can come back. When you've had that feeling, you come back and you repeat the process because you want that feeling again. The reward isn't important. The thing isn't important. It's a sense of feeling again. And that's what gamification is. Am I right? Is that what happens?
Yes, for some people.
Okay.
So obviously that's my type down to a T. I'm the kind of person who thrives off achievement. For some people, they get their highs, they get their personal achievement, I suppose, from social interaction.
Okay.
So they're like in that situation, I'm trying to think of a situation whereby like maybe they would set up a book group whereby they would go and meet up with those people every week, and they will have read a certain amount of pages, and they get their reward, so to speak, from that meeting rather than from the actual book reading or from the actual achievement at the end. So it really does depend on the kind of personality you are, and there will be in every audience, in your audience, in my audience, in every group of people, there will be a proportion of those people who will be there because they want to socialize with other people, they want opportunities to network more than they want to achieve something. So the achieving of something for them is more of a like secondary bonus to the act of interacting with somebody. Now, the other thing that you could do, if you were that kind of personality, is you could read the book in order to help somebody else understand it. So you could find somebody else who wants to learn, and you could read it so that you could teach it. Because that way you're getting your, whatever the happiness hormone is, the oxytocin or serotonin or whatever, you could get that from helping that person. So you're reading in order to get that feeling from helping. So yeah, it's different depending on the kind of person you are, but that's in essence what it is figuring out who the people are, figuring out what motivates them, figuring out what demotivates them, and then creating a project, a course, a membership, whatever your thing is, that is built to consider all of those different types of personalities rather than just being for one. So like in the instance that I gave you, the example I gave you of helping myself to read was based on me because I know what motivates me.
Yeah.
But my other half wouldn't do that. Like, not in a million years would I catch him doing a tick off thing. He laughs at me. He's like, have you just added something to your to-do list so you can tick it off again? I'm like, maybe. So he's got a very different set of motivations. And I think that's the hardest part sometimes, is realizing what it is that motivates all of the people in the audience. But you can survey them. You can ask the questions. And you can look at what works and what doesn't work and figure out from that. So you can try different things and be like, that worked, that didn't work. Maybe they're motivated by this more than this.
As you were talking, I was thinking about, because I run these workshops at regular intervals. And I think one of the things we do is, and we have done this in the past, is offer prizes for those who are most engaged, those ones who share the most. I remember this one time, and I didn't do it again after that for this reason, so the person who shares the most wins, like in terms of what they learned, the aha moments, whatever, they would get this prize, excuse me. And funny enough, we had this one person who just I did this and I did that and I had this, and it just became just craziness. Like, they shared 20, it was amazing thing to share, but it was just even small things, like, they bombarded us with the wins, and I thought, okay, maybe not have that as one of the criteria. And we normally just say, okay, share your wins and other things. But I have found that when we open the group up, when we actually set them up again, not necessarily set them up against each other, but there's a prize at the end for the one who's shared the most or got the aha moment, the aha moments, or who has done something. When there's a prize for it, more people take part, more people actually come and contribute, and it becomes a game. So I've never used the word gamification until I've spoken to you before, but it's gamification. They want to interact more, they want to share more, they want to learn more, and somehow they pay attention more to what I say. They're listening more. So yeah, it does work. And because I was thinking in real life situation, it definitely works. And we all play games, or we all do things, as even as adults. I know one of my thing is I love solitaire as I have as a child, so I play solitaire on my phone, and it's something that I would do just every night. Just, and the way I say it, there's very little time that I spend on anything that I think isn't worthwhile doing, but I spend that time on it because my justification to myself is, this is making my brain work. I'm using my brain, so it's making my brain work. So this is good fun for that. I mean, I'm sure it is to some extent, but that's my thing. But I love, in the end, I've got to win, and I have to do it in a certain amount of time. Oh, I've won. That's it, done. It's my little dopamine, thing. Oh, I've got my thing. Okay. I'm happy now. I'm going to go off to the next thing. Go read, do my 5-10 minute reading, then I'm going to go sleep. But we do that throughout our life. And as I was talking, as you were talking, I was looking at my life in general. We do a lot of things we do subconsciously without even thinking about it. And for example, if you lose the weight, you'll go and get a new wardrobe. So that's a challenge for yourself. Or setting the target up for 30 days or 90 days, or I'm always setting up tasks for my kids at the moment. So at the moment, I've taken away their pocket money and said to them, in order for them to get pocket money, they have to give me book reports. So but then that is a game. They have to do this, and it's a gamification in a different form. I'm not sure they're really happy about it, but they have no choice. They want the money, the money prize at the end. But that's how I'm sort of teaching and working with them. That was a lot more effective than me screaming at them, read. Mm-hmm. That process is like, okay. Oh, and I've got magazines for them, like Money Magazine or the weekly journal, or junior journal or something for kids. They're happy reading those now because they know they've got prize at the end. They've got money coming at the end. When it was money just for the sake of, they've got the pocket money anyway, or something else, then they weren't doing it. Whereas I don't believe in giving. I know there's some parents who say, they do chores and then they give money, but I have my hesitations about chores and money. But again, that is also a form of gamification, isn't it?
100%. It is. I want to come back to a couple of points you made, actually. So firstly, on the solitaire thing, I also play solitaire pretty much every night. Now, you say, I don't spend any time doing things that are frivolous or whatever. Every game, have a look, every single game is teaching you something. That is what it is. Okay, so chess is teaching you about war strategy, Risk is teaching you about war strategy, solitaire is teaching you planning skills, organizational skills, strategy, because you're thinking ahead. It's teaching you lots of skills. So you are actually learning, you are improving your brain every night by doing that. And it's very, think about it, like, what else are you learning whilst you're doing it? Because you have to think ahead, you have to think about all these things. Every game that you do is teaching you something. It might not be a useful skill, but it is teaching you something, and usually they're quite base level things as well. But I also wanted to come back to the thing you said about when you let everyone into a challenge group. I assume it's a challenge group, and you give them 2 competitions. Everybody does that. Like I do it as well. So the engagement challenge and the referral challenge. Okay, so you said, or the sharing your wins. So we had the same problem with the engagement one, where we said, we'll give a prize to the most engaged person. And somebody went through and liked every single comment. They responded to everything. But you could see they were just gaming the system. They were just trying to win the prize. They weren't doing it in the spirit that it was intended, which was to get them to interact more for their own benefit. So a simple T&C you can add into every competition that you now run from now on is add it to say that you have to do it in the spirit of the competition, because then that can be, then straight away they go, oh, actually, why are they asking me to engage? Why are they asking me to share my wins? And it's because we want you to get more out of it. We want you to look into engaging with other people, because the more you engage with other people, the more connections you make, the better it's going to be for your business. The more that you share your wins, the more that you're going to try and get more wins, so you get more for your business. It's not really about tick box exercise. It's not about liking as many things as you can so that you can win the prize, because that defeats the object. The idea is, if you're naturally engaging, you're going to get more results even if you don't win the prize. So yeah, definitely add that T&C in the spirit that it was intended, rather than just for the sake of it. It's a tough one, but people will always try and game the system. It is something that people will always do, and you always have to think, when you're creating any kind of competition, any kind of thing where people can win, always think, how are they going to try and break this? Because they will. It's human nature
to rig the system, right?
Yeah, it's human nature. You always want to look, how can I get to the end the quickest? Like, You know, I watch videos on double speed if I can bear it. I'll watch them at like 1.5 speed because I want to get through things as quickly as possible.
I do that. But then because I speak fast and most people speak very slowly for me, so I need them to speed up. So I end up that's for that reason. Actually, for that very reason, I try to avoid live because I'm like they're going to be too slow for me. They're too fast slow for me. I watch the replay because I can speed up.
Through it, exactly. But we're always looking for hacks, so to speak. We're always looking for ways to get through this as quickly as possible, to get to the end. And we forget sometimes that the reason we're there is to learn, or the reason we're there is to achieve X, Y, and Z. Instead, we're trying to get through it as quickly as possible because we need to feed the kids, or we need to get to the dentist, or we need to get to X, Y, and Z. And you forget the reason why you're there. So, as game designers, for want of a better phrase, as gamification designers, no matter what your game is, no matter how small, think, how are they going to try and break this? Like I put it in all of my consultation documents for my customers, we have a section on how people are going to cheat, because we know how they're going to cheat. But we usually say, but if they do this, it's kind of their own fault. That it's only themselves they're cheating. So, as long as you outlay those things at the beginning. So if you say, look, of course you can try and game the system and like every post if you want to, but A, we're going to see it and we're going to disqualify you, and B, you're already cheating yourself. Like it doesn't really affect us. It's just annoying.
It's just there's some people who are who they are, and they that's how they behave. But that's really, really interesting actually to think about it, because I think and I'm looking back now, and there are workshops we've done when we haven't introduced this factor and the engagement has been low, and the wins shared have not been that great. And there are others when we've introduced it, the engagement's been a lot higher, and the results people have got themselves, average, has been a lot better. So yeah, gamification does really play a part, and it's an important part to play in when you run these challenges. I just like avoiding I like to keep it as authentic as real, but then I think maybe just because of the few bad apples, you don't take the gamification away from the rest of them, because I just thought it's not worth it. I think adding that point in the spirit of the spirit of the workshop, it is intended. So I think then so we can disqualify people who just are doing it for the sake of it. Because I remember we were bombarded with this one person. I thought, oh my god, that was a bit overwhelming. Like why? But yeah, it definitely can play a part. And I think when people do play games, it allows them to enjoy the process, which is part of the thing. You should enjoy what you're doing, whatever whatever it is. And developing a habit it's really important. So what recommend some things that for people, for example, who do have online courses, challenges we've discussed already, but what if someone has an online course and they are struggling to get people from A to Z? Say for example, it's on your, like you said, you've got an IG one. So if you know that people, if they go from A to Z or A to Z on your program, they're going to have 10,000 followers, but they know that the price is 10,000 followers, but they're still not getting the 10,000 followers. Give us an example, a rundown of an example of what you would do to get them to go through the entire program. Because once they've gone through the program, they probably get the results. It's just getting them through the damn program.
Okay, so we don't do anything to do with Instagram anymore, but we did used to run a challenge and then a course on Instagram. We do all gamification stuff now. That's entirely the whole business. I couldn't tell you everything that we do from A to Z to get them from one place to another, because one, we haven't got enough time, and no, we haven't got anywhere near enough time, and two, what works for my audience wouldn't necessarily work for yours.
So this is the key. You need to work out what works for your audience. And I suppose, that makes sense, because depending on what niche it is, I'm in the mindset niche. So, the kind of and also these people tend to be spiritual entrepreneurs and so forth. They're very much spiritually connected, because I do a lot of energy work. That kind of audience is going to be very different from somebody like Gary V's, who are go and hustle.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's a complete different.
And I would guess that the amount of people in your audience is going to be that are collaborative people that prefer to work together to get to achieve an aim is going to be much higher than in somebody like Gary V's program, which is going to be a much more competitive environment, in which case you want leaderboards, you want competitions, you want badges, you want the kinds of things that are going to encourage people that want to achieve above everybody else, no matter what, even if Sorry, I slammed the table then, but you know, like for a bit of emphasis,
Yeah.
you know, no matter what, even if it means other people drowning at the bottom.
Yeah.
Whereas in your community, it's going to be much more around how can we create an environment where they can collaborate, where they can work together to help each other to achieve a thing, because they are much more of that kind of personality. So
Exactly.
what would work for me isn't necessarily going to work for you, but you need to think about a couple of things. So you need to think about the 2 whys. So why am I doing it? So in this case, in the example you've given, the why you are doing it is to help more people get to the end of the course. But the why could be to get more testimonials. The why could be to get more of them to buy your VIP package at the end. The why could be lots of different things. But that why, that first why, which is all about you, is a business objective. And fun could be a great outcome, but it's not the objective. So lots of people come to me and they say, Kimber, I want to make my course more fun. And I'm like, what's the actual problem? Like, what's the actual thing you're trying to solve? Because fun isn't it. Like fun's a great outcome, but that's not the business objective. And the second why is, why should they care? Why should your audience care? Why should they be interested? Like if you're creating a social media post that's got a poll in it, why should they stop in the middle of their day and respond to your poll? If you're creating a share to win competition and the prize isn't that great, why should they care? Like really think about it. Would you care enough to take that action if you're busy, if you're on the school run, if you're like, you know, X, Y, and Z? Why should they care? And really think about this. You know your audience better than anyone else. And if you don't, you should be surveying them more. You should be spending more time getting to know them. Why should they care? Like they're busy people. They're probably, you know, some people, they might be drowning with a million things to do. They might be juggling everything. Or they might just be like, I'm not busy, but that doesn't appeal to me. Why should I care? So really think the 2 whys, like why am I doing it and why should they care?
Okay, fantastic. All right. And then that's, and based, and I think the one thing you said here was, which hit me hard, was you should be aware of the level of consciousness of your audience. I think this is a key. If you are trying to serve a particular audience, you need to be aware of where they are consciously, where they are emotionally, and obviously to some extent where they are financially. These are things that you need to be aware of. And you need to cater to a particular audience. This comes from basics, or, you know, business 101. So it's not something you need to discuss here. Anybody who has a business has to be aware of these 3 things. And if you're not, then you need to go and spend some more time researching to see what kind of audience you have. And if you don't have the audience that you want to serve, then you pivot your messaging till you get to the audience that you want to serve. And then once you have an audience, then you need to work out what makes them tick, what makes them happy, what makes them, you know, go out and take action, what makes them just, you know, stay back and procrastinate for 2 hours or 3 hours or 2 months. It's becoming aware of and understanding your audience, and then designing a game, or, you know, gamifying your programs or your workshops or your, you know, whatever retreats, etc., in a way that can serve your best serve your audience. And I think the bigger you are, the more celebrity notion you have, the more people listen to you. So because I remember I went to Joe Dispenza's retreat recently, and there were 2,500 people in that one. It was crazy.
Wow.
It was one of the largest one he's done recently, and it was in London. Oh, I'm in London, so it was easy for just 20 minutes down the road for me. And so in there were 2,500 people, and the order and the things they did and everything else. But because his audience is very similar to mine, people did it because they, especially the healing times when you were healing individuals, there were healies and the healers, and the healies were about 280. The rest were all healers. To get 2,200 people to line up to first, get themselves in a state, and then to line up and come in, and then quietly sit, go and find places, and so there were 8 each. There was for each pod there 8 seats, 8 here, 4 here, 4 here. The 8 healers for each of the healies. To be able to coordinate that, obviously it was organized very well, I have to say. But more than that, it's the people who are coming in, the healers, 2,200 people, getting them in a short span of time to be able to go and sit there and be able to perform this healing. It's that audience and knowing it. And all of them did it not because they were going to get any rewards themselves, but because they want to give, they want to help. And I remember that was for me, that was a highlight for each other. There was, from 7 days, 3 days, we did the healing thing. And that was one of the highlights for me, because I know I'm a healer, and in being in that environment, healing people and getting the results, that was a reward. So it really does depend on your audience. You don't really have to give them a carrot at the end. The inner feeling, what they feel. Every single person was moved, and a lot of people were crying, and not only just the healers were crying. The experience was so moving. And that's important. So being aware of how your audience would be, and a lot of times I think we underestimate the power of humanity in people. Giving the sheer aspect of giving someone some part of their energy and helping them or doing whatever, and creating that commander, the word I'm losing my thing, but
commonality.
Camaraderie. That's the word I was missing it. So that itself is enough reward for people, especially if they are from certain demographic, they're certain kind of people who are spirituals and healers and that kind of thing. If you have someone who's, we can't generalize. I'm an alpha female, and I'm a go-getter, and I'm a very, very competitive person, but I have, this made me happier compared to me competing, getting the A star. Even though all my life I'm the A star student, and I have been competitive, yet this gives me more happiness. But you becoming aware of it and knowing how to cater to your audience, I think that is the key from what I'm understanding from you. And this is why I shared the example of Joe Dispenza's retreat, because there was no reward in terms of physical reward. It was all spiritual and energetic reward, and everyone received it, and everyone was more than happy. And myself included, I loved it. That was the highlight of my day. 3 days actually. We did it for 3 days in a row, and it's one of those things. So being aware of how to support your audience in a way that they learn and enjoy as well. I think that's what I hear from you, right?
Yeah, I think as well, there's something to consider. And I think it's very easy to hear something like this, and especially if you're new to it, and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to try this. And then you try one thing and it doesn't work, and you give up. Okay. So the thing is this is test and learn. Even for me, and I've been doing it with lots of different people. I've been doing it in lots of different programs. I've been doing it for lots of different courses, all this kind of stuff. Even for me, when we work with the client, we'll give them the initial consultation document, they'll go and do it, and then we have follow-up meetings where we go, right, what's not working for your audience? What's completely fallen on its bum? What's not working at all? What needs a bit of tweaking? And then we change it, because not everything's going to work straight away. And just because it doesn't get a reaction the first time doesn't mean that if you tweaked it, it wouldn't get a good reaction the second time. So please don't expect everything to work straight away when you try this out. It's not a miracle cure for whatever your problems are. But also, bearing in mind, in that experience, there was over 2,000 odd people. There's bound to be one or two who came out of it and was like, actually, that wasn't quite what I expected. And that is nothing to do with the organisers. That is nothing to do with how amazing the experience was. It's just that the kinds of things that they find fun and rewarding and interesting weren't what was there and was present. You're never going to have hit the mark with everybody all the time. So, you're never going to get 100% of the people through your course. You're just not. Life things happen. If nothing else, sometimes things happen and people just can't commit at that time. So I think probably what I'm trying to say is be kind to yourself and don't expect 100% all the time.
Wonderful. And on that note, we're going to wrap up. So Kimba, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you on the internet?
So we're at Kimba Digital everywhere. So I spend most of my time on Instagram and Facebook, and we're going to be opening up a gamified Facebook group for business owners called The Business Game. So do come and join us there.
Wonderful. If you're listening to us on the podcast, then the links that Kimba has just mentioned will be on the show notes. And if you're watching us on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we'll have the links to that she just mentioned to. Go check her out. I think she'll be a brilliant addition to your business, and see how you can use Kimba's skills to gamify your programs and your workshops to allow your audience to have a better experience from you. But on that note, thank you so much, Kimba, for being such an amazing guest. We've learned so much from you. I definitely have. It's been a new concept to me. Certain aspects of it I've probably already introduced. I just didn't know the term, but I'm now looking forward to introducing it at a greater level. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been lots of fun. Thanks so much.
And thank you for listening to me and Kimba today on Money Talkies. I will be back on another Money Talkies segment, finding out how you and I can build a better business. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull signing off. Take care and bye for now.